Hello, lovely friends. I am Ann Pirvu. I'm here with Fancity Central, and we are doing Fandom Firsts. Ooh, this is fun. It was awesome. The first Disney movie you were a fan of. Oh my God, this is hard. That's a great ship, right there. And nobody died. Well, except for Nicole. Current favorite book, movie, or TV show? Oh God, of course this is the first question. Like start easy, right? Ease her into it. Just like, I'm watching so many things right now, which is why it's so fun. I'm watching Big Little Lies right now, actually. The first time you put on Nicole's costume, ooh. So she has amazing dresses, like throughout the season. I felt incredibly lucky to be a part of that series because everyone was so creative, like, so there was no expense spared in a way like that, you know. So every week was like Christmas, because you would you know, I would be like, oh my God, what's happening to her this week? I had no idea. Like, you don't know in advance where the storyline goes. And I was incredibly lucky. I was hired to do 3 episodes, but I ended up doing, you know, 9, like all throughout the season. And so you just keep going and going and going, and you're discovering the character and the story with the writers in the process. And I never really experienced that, you know, when somebody kind of writes for you and with you. It was awesome. And so the costumes evolved based on how the storyline evolved. And the first time you put it on is in the fitting, but then when you're on set and you're, you know, I mean, she has this incredible outfit when they there's something that you guys never got to see in Reign, which was, we called it she becomes Catholicized in the second last episode, because she's not Catholic, she's Protestant. And that's a big source of tension throughout the series. So she becomes Catholicized. So they had these amazing collars. There was this whole sequence that got cut that we shot of her becoming almost Queen of France. They were getting ready to meet, you know, the everyone coming in, the sister coming from Spain, yada yada. And you know, you see the beginning where all of us are together, but you don't see the setup. And the setup was this stunning, like our director was a French director, amazing guy. He just had this like whole sequence of like putting everything together and like a little, you know, everything was so delicate and lighting and, you know, cost, everything was phenomenal. So that got cut. That was sad, but it was a lot of fun. And I have the memories. The first fangirl moment you had, oh my God. Okay, so I was a huge fan of Sailor Moon growing up. This is the first thing that I thought of. Tuxedo Mask, my first crush. So genuinely, he was beautiful. And we used to have these like sticker books. I don't know if you have this in North America, but there were books, and you would buy the stickers, and there was the story, you know, like season 1, whatever, and you would collect these stickers, and sometimes I'd have doubles, triples, quadruples, whatever, and I would keep them all because they were very special to me. But Tuxedo Mask, I mean, oh my God. And so I had the whole book was finished within like, the amount of money that my parents spent on those stickers, I mean, that was it. I didn't want an allowance. I didn't want anything else. I just wanted my stickers. They were perfect. And so was he. First time you met the Reign cast, I was at the table read for my very first episode. And I remember, so basically before you start an episode, the process of getting hired, you have to audition, and then sometimes in television you end up shooting right away. So I auditioned on a Tuesday, I got approved on a Thursday, which is like, oh my God, what? British accent, I gotta start working on it. Guess what? You're shooting on Tuesday. So your table read, it was like literally a week between the time that I was cast to the time I had to be on set, and they were like, oh, deal. And then, I went to the table read the Monday, I think it was, and that's when I met everyone. And I remember you just literally sitting at a table, it was a massive table with everybody, and they were already shooting, so they're already like in their characters, you know, and I'm like, please don't laugh at my British accent. I'm still working on it. And then you're supposed to act, and my first scenes were with Craig Parker, who ended up being my mentor in the show, and first of many loves. And we did the scene, and I remember I spoke the first couple of words. There's that scene in the bed where we're like, you know, well, you know, I really want to get to know you or whatever. And I remember he looked up and he's like, well, okay, so we're gonna do this. And I was like, yeah, we are, Craig. Let's go. So that was pretty much it. It was awesome. But it was like, yeah, get in it. Like, there was no like preamble, you know? It was like, yeah, you're hired, here you go. Go. The first book you fell in love with. The first book I fell in love with, gosh. Poems. Like, when I was young, I remember, there were tons of poems. Like, poetry is massive in Romania and in European culture in general, you know? So there's a poet called Eminescu, and you know, obviously in Romanian, and I would recite poems of his like on the regular. But there was, I think it was an Eminescu poem that was like 90 stanzas or something, and I remember my mom would you know, enter me in the equivalent of pageants. They were not pageants, but they were like talent shows when I was young in Romania. So I was 3 years old on stage, and there were 3 competitions: singing, dancing, and reciting poetry. And I would be on stage competing, and there's this recording that my grandmother still has, you know, on an old like massive VHS tape. And then I got to watch it, and that's why I kind of remember, because I was really young. I was like 3 or 4, and I'm reciting this poem. I'm in the middle of this massive stage reciting a 90 stanza poem, and halfway through, I kid you not, I'm holding a handkerchief, and it drops, and I stop, and you hear from the audience, right? And I go down, I pick it up, I go, excuse me, and I continue with the poem. Like nothing happened, right? It's like, oh, and there's like little murmurs of laughter, and then like applause and stuff, and I'm just going, I'm like, my poem's not done, y'all. Oh my God. So that was the first book I fell in love with. Yeah, ooh. Your favorite Outlander moment on screen? Oh my God, this is hard. Because, first of all, so I'm a big Outlander fan. And when I had never read the books, when the show first came out, I auditioned for the role of Claire. And I was like, I looked like I was 12. So in my mind, I'm like, there's no way I'm getting this. Like in the second book, she's like in her 50s. In the first book, she's in her 30s. You're like, amazing story. So I get this audition, and I'm auditioning for it. And then I'm happy. I'm so happy with my tape, with my audition. I put it online. Lo and behold, within 24 hours, I had no idea that the Outlander fans are some of the most incredible people in this entire world. So the minute you put anything Outlander online, it gets action. And it did. It went viral. Like, it was the most wild, amazing thing I've ever experienced in my life. Overnight, there was like 10,000, 20,000 views. Like, I had to private the video right away because I was afraid. You know, when you're an actor and you're working on a new TV series, you're not supposed to be putting the content online, right? I didn't know that this was gonna go bananas. So I was happy with my work, and I put it online just, you know, and then it went crazy. So I that's kind of what brought me to social media, and I had support. I had fan support, my loyal lassies that actually campaigned for me to get the role of Claire. It was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced, and I still have some of those fans to this day. You know, they're very dear to me. So then when the show came out, they were all like, what did you think? And I think that, first of all, everything she wears in that is ridiculous. But my favorite Outlander moment on screen would probably have to be related to Sam Hugan, because he's amazing. And, okay, I'm gonna make it an acting moment, because obviously we all know that he's insanely good looking. And easy to look at. But one of the most remarkable scenes in that show is when he's getting tortured. I think it's the second last episode, when it's a massive episode in the first season where they just have this go. And it's literally Claire's first and second husband, basically, interacting in like the past, you know, in the 1700s. Epic acting moments. And very good-looking men doing it. The first Disney movie you were a fan of? Oh, I'm a big fan of all Disney. What was the first one? I think I loved Lion King. Lion King actually changed my life. When I saw Lion King, I think I might have seen it in theaters as a kid in Romania. Of all things, I saw 2 movies, one animated and one non-animated, before I moved to Canada. I was 12 years old when I moved to Canada. One was James Cameron's Titanic, that changed my entire life. literally 4 hours in a movie theater, and I was like, and he's Canadian, and I'm going to Canada? Like, and I was like 11 years old, I think, when I watched this. It was the best, most inspirational moment, and I wanted to be a filmmaker ever since that moment. But when it comes to Disney, you watch The Lion King, and I mean, I just wanted to dance with Timon and Pumbaa the whole time. Like, that's all I've ever wanted to do. Hakuna Matata. Who can forget, you know? Love, love, love The Lion King. The first oh my god moment you had reading a script for Reign. Ooh! Okay. Okay, this was, so there's, I think I mean, it's episode 13. Okay, so basically, she and her future lover, which is the son of the queen, who's about to be doing something from behind a screen, watch as my lover, Narcisse, eviscerates me emotionally and has an interaction with the queen. So we're meant to be watching from behind a screen. And funny enough, Megan Follows, who plays the queen mother, directed this episode. So the week before, she's telling me, she's like, oh, get ready. Because, you know, in the next one, there's a scene that's like, it's juicy. And I was like, juicy? What are you talking about? And it's like, it's just this dynamic of like, her son watching her, my lover with her, and then both of us. And then, of course, in the next scene, we end up getting together, right? And he's meant to be my true love. And I was like, oh God, that is so twisted. Like, you know, and there's a moment where she just cries. Like, all my role in that entire scene is to listen, watch them go at it, and then cry. Cry, because what else are you gonna do when you're like, the love of my life is actually in love with another woman and hates me. So, not only that, but the other woman is your mother. So, it was awesome. It was awesome. I was reading that and I was like, really? Wow, that's heartbreaking. Damn, that's heartbreaking. It was so great. We were actually really looking forward to that. That was a great scene. The first ship you fell in love with. Oh my God. First of all, I'm learning about the importance of ships. I didn't actually know that this was like so big, but it is. So I'm gonna say the safe one. I'm gonna say a safe one from our show because it's huge. I know you were mine at once, Narcisse, but the Catcease ship is like ridiculous. Catherine and Narcisse. I mean, honestly, yeah. When you look at the whole series and their relationship and the way that it progresses, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And they're sort of like the puppeteers throughout the entire show. They sort of like, watching Megan Follow's work, first and foremost, is remarkable. And I have such respect for her, both as a director and an actress, but it is watching them together, watching them work on the scenes and then execute the scenes. You just don't need to go to school. You just literally just sit there and go, just go. Yep. Oh, wow, that's great. So that's a great ship right there. What was the moment you came up with Soul Sunday? Ooh, that's so great. Ooh, that's a great question. So Reign was a big part of what evolved into becoming Pep Magazine and Soul Sunday. Reign, what was remarkable about Reign was that it has an international audience. So as soon as that started coming out, obviously Outlander and several other projects that I had worked on, you know, I was interacting with amazing people from all around the world already, but when Reign hit, you have an international platform. And so I used to get a lot of lovely messages from people all the time saying the most beautiful things. And then there were people that would interact with your posts online. And I like to be myself and I like to be positive. I like, you know, we call it the bouncing up place, Soul Sundays. I've always loved being an uplifter. So whatever platform I have, whether it's in real life or online, that's who I am, that's what I do, that's what I spread. And you get people, you know, kids, like young kids, because, you know, the Reign audience is fairly young, like 12 to like 22 is how I describe it. Mainly, you know, lovely young women and men, but lovely young women would message me and say, you know, you inspire me, thank you so much, and ask questions about depression and suicide. Private DM questions. And I would answer them. And then, you know, you have a moment where you're like, you answer enough of these and you're like, well, First of all, I honestly didn't know anything about depression when I was 12, you know? And it made me think about, you know, society nowadays and the pressures in society nowadays, and people, anxiety and depression are a real, you know, influence in our lives today. It's different. The way young kids, the pace of life is different, and what they're dealing with, and how their maturity and stuff is at a different level nowadays. So it made me realize that there's I could speak to this on a grander scale. So I decided to make it a topic, you know, like I decided to, instead of doing a live, you know, Instagram live every day asking, you know, who's more fun to make out with, which is great, don't get me wrong, it's awesome. But I was like, well, why don't we talk about something that a lot of kids would want to talk about? So then I started asking questions, and it really evolved from there. And I realized there was a real need for the conversation, you know? And they started participating, and then I now have a topic every week, and I ask them what they want to talk about as well, and then it evolves from there. And it's very rewarding and fulfilling, but I genuinely wanted to have meaningful conversations with my fans and with anyone in life, you know? And that's kind of how it started. And it's funny, this is the tricky thing about fandoms, right? You're interacting with someone on such a personal level, and what I'm asking them to do, the kind of person that I am, like, you know, the depth that I like to go to, just open and honest and, you know, talk about life, encouraging people to interact in the same way, can be very revealing for some people and uncomfortable at times. But what it does is it generates this closeness, you know, and that's the beauty of it. You can have an entire online community of people that you've never met, and this is what's happened with Soul Sundays, you know, with any fandom, really. That's the beauty of fandom, right? There's people you've never met, and yet it's like having, you know, an online family, so to speak, that you interact with on a daily basis and actually have a meaningful interaction with. Fandoms are a wonderful way of creating community, meaning, connection, and sharing passions. And I respect that tremendously. That's what I'm about. First time you read Nicole's last scene. Oh, yeah. Ooh. I was actually, you get the scripts in advance, and because it was just such a whirlwind, I think the last 2 episode scripts we got almost back to back, and we were shooting and reading and shooting and reading. So I'm on the subway, I'm coming out of the subway, and I pull out, you know, my phone, and oh, here's the script. And I knew, I was told by one of our amazing exec producers, Fred Gerber, that this was going to happen. So I knew that she was going to die. I knew that this was going to be the final episode of the entire series, so everybody was going to die. I'm so sorry if I spoiled that for anyone, but it's been off the air for 2 years, so I feel safe doing that. So I knew this was coming, but you know, when you're when you do first read it, it's kind of like you don't want to, it's, you know, watching a train wreck happen. So I'm in the middle of the street, and I'm engrossed. It's the last, I think, 3 or 4 episodes, the writing, the whole 4th season, I was only involved in the 4th season, was phenomenal. And everything was just getting more and more exciting. But those last scripts, because we knew they were going to be the final ones, they were just brilliant. Everything was so fun and weaving. All the storylines were being, you know, tied together. And I'm literally in the middle of the street reading on my phone, and I almost got run over by a car. I'm not kidding. I wish I was. Everything is fine, but I was just like this, and then all of a sudden here, and then people are like, whoa, and I was in the middle of the intersection, at a red light, about to get run over. So, that's kind of how it went. But it was fun.
Oh my God, I love
and nobody died. Well, except for Nicole. Ooh, this is the last one. The first fandom you were a part of growing up. Oh, Sailor Moon. That's hands down. I was obsessed. And there was another German cartoon. Oh my God, what was it called? This is what turned me onto volleyball. I'm a huge volleyball fan, and I loved it. Mila, whatever. German friends. Anybody German out there that can help me with that? 10 points. Oh God, what is the name of the show? Amazing series. I was 10 years old when I was watching it, and it was on par with Sailor Moon. Were they playing volleyball? Am I crazy? No. They don't play volleyball on Sailor Moon. No, it all blends in. You know when you're a little immigrant kid, you don't even know anymore. what happened when, but I watched a lot of cartoons growing up, and those two actually shaped me in a really fun way. So yeah, really good times. Thank you guys so much. That was a lot of fun. Very revealing. We would love to know your Fandom First moments, so leave us a comment 235 below, and join us for the next episode.
Perfect.
A lot of people can look at it in a superficial way, but to me it actually changed my life having a fandom, you know? You underestimate the power of that, you know what I mean? Like I always,
people do.
yeah,
Especially TV networks.
from a mass media standpoint, right? Like what's wonderful is when I was a kid and I was growing up in Romania, I used to watch TV a lot, and what I responded to even then was the mass potential for outreach. You know, when you're like looking at something on a screen or, you know, online or whatever, and you're speaking to someone millions of miles across the world from you, you know, and what else gives you the potential of that? Obviously, technology has evolved to such an amazing, you know, place nowadays, but what a luxury that is, you know, and I always responded to the power of that, the power of connection, the power of community, global community, right? Definitely not to be underestimated.